Newsline. I'm Maya Bennett.
And I'm Dinah Geary.
Today we'll be touching on the latest local and international news, including the decline in queer venues in Melbourne and the pokies epidemic taking over live music venues.
Later in the program, we'll have updates from sport and the weather. But first, today's news.
One of Dorinda Cox's former staff members has said workplace allegations of bullying remain unsolved. The WA Senator announced her move from the Greens to Labor on Monday, now working alongside Anthony Albanese. The Prime Minister has repeatedly claimed the matter was dealt with appropriately at the time, but former staffer Esther Montgomery claims the 6 weeks she spent working for Dorinda Cox in 2024 were traumatising and the matter is unfinished.
From next term, principals across Victoria will have new powers to suspend or expel students, not just for what happens inside the classroom, but also for serious misbehaviour that takes place online or outside school grounds. Until now, Victorian school discipline policies only applied to incidents that occurred on school property. But starting from term 3, principals will be able to take action against students whose behaviour outside school or online poses a serious risk to the safety of others. The new policy comes in response to a rise in assaults and incidents of online bullying, including disturbing reports of AI-generated deepfake images targeting students and staff. Victorian Education Minister Ben Carroll says the move brings Victoria in line with states like New South Wales and South Australia.
Melbourne Victory has released a statement in regard to the perceived over-policing of the A-League match on Saturday. The raucous pre-game event saw a police officer assaulted and flares ignited on Swan Street in Richmond. The club claims the heavy police presence created a sense of fear amongst its fans and protested against the vilification of the football culture. And on Tuesday, Elon Musk publicly denounced Donald Trump's signature tax and spending bill, calling it a disgusting abomination. The legislation was passed in May and includes multi-trillion-dollar tax breaks and increases the US government's ability to borrow money. This is the first public disagreement Musk has engaged in with Trump, whose administration Musk parted with at the end of May.
As temperatures drop and winter settles in across the state, Victorians are being urged to roll up their sleeves to protect themselves against a surge in respiratory illnesses, including the flu and COVID-19. With over 18,000 cases of the flu already recorded in Victoria by late May, authorities are advising that the vaccination is vital now more than ever. The flu vaccine is free for those eligible and can be given alongside the COVID booster, with health officials recommending combining both vaccinations to bolster immunity during the colder months.
There has been a resurgence in Melbourne in recent years of bars and events for queer women, filling a void that many queer women believe was lacking in Melbourne. Sophia Barrett has the story.
There is a rise in women's queer events being held in Melbourne, and they're hugely successful. Like many big cities around the world, Melbourne had a surge in queer venues, including lesbian bars, in the 80s and 90s, but many of them now no longer exist.
Obviously, if you're targeting a smaller group with your events, all of these difficulties are going to be exacerbated.
Today, Melbourne is home to many successful gay bars, but queer women often feel that they are centred around men and there aren't designated spaces for them. Matilda and Juliet are the organisers behind a new Melbourne event for queer women and trans people and have been blown away by their success in numbers.
I just think we facilitated a space that needed to happen, and that's why people are there. Like, they want to be there, they want to be a part of this thing that, like, sadly was very lacking in, like, this city.
A study from the Australian National University in 2022 highlighted the importance of safe spaces for women as they allow people to express themselves freely and connect with others who may share similar experiences.
I don't think personally I would have been fulfilled or happy in this city without having spaces like that, once having experienced them. And like, I think that shows how, like, important these spaces are, because I couldn't imagine my life without them.
The lesbian and trans community have taken it into their own hands by organising these events to make sure there's a space to meet, make friends, flirt and have a dance. I'm Sophia Barrett, reporting for Newsline.
Reporter Sylvia Urson is at Queen Victoria Market for the opening of the season's winter night markets.
It's absolutely buzzing down here, with the market preparing to open at 5 p.m. for the first night of the winter night markets. It's an annual market that's been running since 2013, and it kicks off tonight and will run until August 27th. The food and drinks are available from across the world, and if that's not enough for you, there's arts and crafts available for purchase and entertainment. Tonight we're expecting people on stilts, fire shows, light shows, dancers, bands, and even a silent disco with Guru Doo.
Thanks, Sylvia. What's the? Tell us a little bit about what the atmosphere is like down there at the Queen Victoria Market.
So as I said before, it's absolutely buzzing. People are queuing up, waiting for the market to start at 5. It'll be opening shortly. The vendors just finishing off their setup.
And what do the night markets mean for the vendors, Sylvia?
So recently the vendors have been doing it quite tough with general cost of living pressures increasing costs, and consumer spending is down overall. They've also reported less visitors from constructions in the Queen Victoria Market Precinct. However, the Queen Victoria night markets are a huge draw. Last year, 290,000 visitors were reported across its 13-week stint, and we're hoping for the same here this year. Earlier today, I spoke to Espresso Market Stephanie and a Queen Victoria Market visitor about the night markets.
It's the busiest night market for the Queen Victoria Market. It's exciting. We've got a variety of all cultures, all foods. It's wonderful. It's really nice.
But, I mean, I love markets, so it's great that there's a night market.
Earlier this year, the future of the Queen Victoria Market was uncertain when vendors striking in February. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Sylvia?
Right, that's correct, Dani. For the first time in the market's nearly 150-year history, fruit and vegetable vendors went on strike. They accused the City of Melbourne and its market planning company of unfair financial mismanagement, and they closed their stalls and walked off the site. They were also unhappy with additional electricity and waste collection fees, but since then things seem to have resolved. The market is back running smoothly, with things looking up.
In 2018, Queen Victoria Market was granted National Heritage status, so its future seems fairly certain. What do you think the future of markets across Melbourne looks like?
That's right. And also previously in 1989, it was became a Victorian heritage site. So with that dual site, it's been dual heritage status. It's been recognised as a really important site for Melbourne. It gained this status based on its link to early colonial Melbourne. This is actually the site for the first cemetery in Melbourne before it became the market. So it seems that the future of Queen Victoria markets are pretty certain. However, for markets across Melbourne, such as the Preston market, it's less certain. They've just extended their lease, but it doesn't have that same protection the Queen Victoria market now has. Despite this, that Melbournians have a huge demand for markets, as we said before, with huge amounts of visitors. So we hope to see markets protected throughout Melbourne because they contribute so much to the fabric of the community.
Thanks so much for that, Sylvia. That was Sylvia Urson reporting live from the Queen Victoria Market. At Mount Arapiles Toon State Park, there has been debate between rock climbers and the Indigenous owners of the land on whether they can coexist. Reporter Zakai Sparks has more.
In the vast, windswept plains of Victoria's Waimea region, diorite, also known as Mount Arapiles, rises starkly from the flatlands. A popular destination for rock climbers across Australia and beyond. It's now at the centre of a cultural and community divide. We're here at the top of Mount Arapiles, also known as diorite, in the northwest region of Victoria, where a lot of people are asking the same question. Can cultural preservation and recreation coexist? The rediscovery of ancient Indigenous rock art and quarry sites in the area has prompted Parks Victoria to release a draft management plan. It proposes the closure of at least half of Mount Arapiles climbing routes to protect the heritage sites. However, not everyone agrees with the plan.
I think how Parks Victoria and the government have gone about this is very poor. They didn't communicate with any of the local community and all of a sudden they just dropped it. And in a really devastating, impersonal and unpresent way.
Felix Ritson helped organise a vigil at the base of diorite, where over 150 climbers and local townspeople gathered on Easter Sunday, braving the rain to protest the plan and advocate for shared use. 10 minutes down the road, in the climbing town of Nattymark, pub owner Bill Lovell says the plan could spell trouble for the local economy.
going to affect, there's climbing businesses here, the climbing shop next door, all of that sort of traffic coming through. The little corner store as well, and it has, I dare say, an effect. The local cafes up for sale, and people aren't going to buy a business if half the business is going to be taken away. People just know Natty Muck for Mount Arapiles, and it's known worldwide.
But others, like local climbers Wendy Eden and partner Michael Conard, see a different side of the story.
It didn't even occur to me that the traditional owners might look at this and feel hurt and offended and upset.
Jordan Crook from National Parks Victoria believes that cultural preservation can coexist alongside rock climbing at Mount Arapiles.
There's an amazing story out there to be told, and it's told in the rock. It's really not asking for much, it's just asking for a bit of respect.
Footage by Zachary Sparks and Archibald McGill for RMIT News.
And now we're going to have a short break. We'll be back momentarily with more news from around Victoria.
Melbourne's pubs once nurtured a generation of musicians, but now their stages are vanishing. Reporter Zach Fahey investigates how the rise of pokie machines is rewriting the city's musical DNA and what it means for the next wave of artists.
Melbourne, a city once pulsing with live music from every pub on every corner, but behind closed doors, another rhythm has taken over. Once a haven for up-and-coming bands, pubs like this have been prioritising poker machines over performance stages, a shift that's dramatically changed the city's cultural identity, leaving musicians like Peter Ahern without valuable spaces to perform.
Fewer gigs means fewer fans, which means fewer chances to grow.
In the 1980s and 90s, Melbourne pubs were the launchpads for bands like Jet and The Living End. Today, those stages have had their space overtaken by machines with flashing lights and spinning reels. Legalised in 1991, Victoria is home to more than 27,000 pokie machines outside casinos, and many are right where live music used to thrive, pubs and RSLs. The shift from stages to slot machines is more than aesthetic. It's economic. In 2023 alone, Victorians lost over $3 billion on pokies.
Too many of our pubs are dominated by poker machines. In some suburbs, they're mini casinos. You know, these places are meant to be social places, places of safety and fun, but too many of them are devoted to gambling, and it's getting their hooks into people.
It's not just Melbourne's hospitality scene fostering these environments. Last year, the Victorian state government collected $1.4 billion in pokies taxes.
And with the release of the state budget on May 20th, it's clear the Treasury expects pokies taxes to keep rolling in without missing a beat. For artists, the consequences are painful and personal.
Artists aren't asking for much, just a place to play and be heard.
Zach Fay, RMIT News.
Joining us in the studio now is Bennett Perry, here to share more about his story on the City of Whittlesea's launch of the Rainbow Committee, which we featured recently.
The City of Whittlesea are accepting applications to join the Rainbow Advisory Committee. Could you please elaborate on this new committee?
Certainly. So this committee is, well, what it's called is the Rainbow Advisory Committee. It's a collaborative group aiming to help the council connect with LGBTQIA plus people to bring in inclusivity and representation to the community. It'll be made up primarily of community members, representatives from queer organisations, and Council Member David Lemberg and Councillor Blair Cowell as proxy.
According to the ABS, 1 in 20 Victorians identify as LGBTQIA+. Is this one of the factors that led to the creation of this committee?
Well, not really. It was just mainly that a petition was sent out to the council May last year. It was made up of around 12 signees. It only just got endorsed in February this year. So within that, the councillor Laurie Cox said that this committee is going to be around the endorsement of the strength and community within Whittlesea and the council members.
Bennett, do you think this new committee will help bring a stronger connection between the community and council?
I certainly do. Not just the fact that the council has done research within their own community, but several organisations that have worked with the government have done research within the 2010s on what are the main issues that the queer community have between, not just within themselves, but within society, as well as with community members talking with people like Archie Beadle from my report to help with the nuances of inclusivity.
So tell us, how do local residents join?
Well, local residents join on the website, the council website, through the Express of Interest page. The councillors pretty much told me that they're not just looking for queer people, they're also looking for pretty much anyone who wants to join, but the stipulations are that you have to live in the Whittlesea jurisdiction.
Okay, well, it's Pride Month now, so is the committee doing anything active with this year's Pride?
I don't believe they are, because they're still setting up. However, I've spoken with the Pride team that they had originally, and they said that they're not really at the moment. I know that they have definitely done it before, especially with Ida Hobbit in 2023. However, I know that next year the council and the committee will be working on something.
Thank you so much for chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.
Melbourne's inner suburbs are facing proposed demolition of 14 social housing high-rises, including the crumbling condition they're in. Nina Pascalini has more.
Melbourne's 14 iconic social housing high-rises are due to be demolished and replaced by 2051. Built in the 1950s, the state government reasons that these flats are crumbling, inaccessible and inefficient. Let's find out what the community has to say.
I think it's really unfortunate. I think the government should be doing more to refurbish them rather than knocking them down. And I haven't heard enough from the government on what they're doing to support the people that live here.
It all depends on the height of what they're going to replace them with, how much open space they leave around them for the residents, and generally making sure that the people who live here can come back here, rather than making it for the cafe latte mob who want to live close to the city.
Yeah, obviously not the best. Like, if they're going to put it up for people to live in, like, close to the city, I don't think it's a good thing that they're going to sort of promise people one thing and then obviously strip it away from them.
We're heading to a break now, but stick around because we'll be back soon with the roundup.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Roundup. I'm Mia Coutinho.
And I'm Max Secua. In the Roundup, we're going to be looking at some of the biggest stories across art, tech, and in the papers. But first, let's take a look at today's headlines across the globe.
United Nations reports that an aid convoy carrying life-saving humanitarian supplies for the famine-affected area of North Darfur, Sudan, was attacked on Monday night. 5 humanitarian workers were killed and many were left injured. The convoy was attempting to reach children and families in the city of Al Fasher, carrying food and nutrition supplies when it was attacked. The World Food Programme and the United Nations Children's Fund condemned the attack on the convoy and reminded the international community that under humanitarian law, aid must be able to move securely.
Al Jazeera reports that the Israeli army has killed 27 Palestinians and injured 90 as they opened fire near an aid distribution site. It's the third such incident in 3 days, as Gaza authorities declare at least 100 people seeking aid have been killed in the last 2 weeks.
Looking to Poland's news now, right-wing historian Karol Nawrocki has been elected Poland's new president. The nationalist candidate won 50.9% of the votes and has been backed by US President Donald Trump. Nawrocki's presidential powers to veto legislation could present a significant challenge for Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk. Since Poland operates under two systems of government, the new Polish president is now able to influence foreign policy and veto laws.
Over to the Japan Times, Lee Jae-myung is the new president of South Korea. He is a member of the liberal-leaning Democratic Party and secured 49% of the vote. The Japan Times also reports that baseball legend Shigeo Nagashima has died at 89. Mr. Nagashima succumbed to pneumonia in a Tokyo hospital and is being celebrated as one of Japan's most beloved sports stars.
Over to Thailand now. The Bangkok Post is leading with Border War, a Last Resort, covering the ongoing disputes with bordering nation Cambodia. The paper also covers another story about a large wild elephant from Khao Yai National Park that has wandered into a local shop in Pak Chong district on Monday, startling the owners and damaging shelves as it searched for food. Park rangers and the shop owner tried to get the elephant to leave, shouting and pleading with it. Eventually, after 10 minutes of coaxing, he left and wandered back into the forest. Luckily, no injuries were reported.
Over to New Zealand, where the NZ Herald has reported the operator of a North Canterbury adventure camp has been charged after a 9-year-old boy suffered severe burns on a school trip. The boy suffered burns in 2023 and has since had multiple surgeries and is still dealing with the effects of the injuries. The camp operator has been charged by New Zealand's WorkSafe Authority with exposing an individual to risk of harm or illness. And that's it for today's front page world news.
To tech news now. Tech giant Philips Electronics has been sued over the inhalation risk from their sleep aids. We're joined now by our tech reporter Riley Desilak. Riley, what has the court proceedings done to finally be filed against Philips Electronics?
So Philips Electronics have finally undergone court proceedings by the Therapeutic Good Administrations for their sleep ventilators, and this has actually been a concern to Australians for quite some time now. The company first experienced device recalls in June of 2021, where they were first accused of selling defective ventilators. In the defective ventilators, they were using a polyester-based polyurethane foam, which was used in the sleep noise suppression for the machines, and this was reported degrading in the machinery. Any devices created from 2019 to the recall in 2021 were reporting 44,000 separate instances of unlawful devices being sold to consumers.
Yeah, interesting that over 40,000 instances have been raised against the company. Riley, do you want to tell us about some of the potential health risks from the recall?
The Australian government released the TGA labelled these medical devices as unlawful, as stated before. This basically means that they're not up to standard with the Australian safety performance requirements that they needed. The devices admitted both short-term and long-term risks to users, including respiratory tract irritations, skin and eye irritations from the deterioration of the materials being admitted, and in long-term use, the foam degrading in the particles behind were actually being inhaled by the patient, which was of the TGA's biggest concern.
In other tech news, Chief Executive Officer of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, has announced that the platforms such as Facebook and Instagram will input AI ad creation by the end of next year. Riley, what could be some of the current concerns of advertising companies with this new announcement?
So marketing and agencies and advertising companies are expected to be threatened by Meta's new AI and ad creation tool. Brands utilizing social media platforms such as Instagram and Facebook for their ads can instead use artificial intelligence to create their ad rather than going through a physical ad agency to do so. Meta here can be seen directly targeting marketing budgets, as the AI tools proposed will easily create the entire ad for the company. Mark Zuckerberg himself has also referred to the development of these new AI tools as a redefinition of the category of advertising. There will be specific targeting factors in place, such as locations, in order to generate ads specific in that area or region, making it even more accessible for brands to get their product across.
Yeah, so there's a lot of concerns around AI and how it's impacting, the advertising workspace. But Riley, do you want to lighten the mood a bit, tell us some of the positives,
Yeah. So Meta has explained in its aims to fully automate ad creation that it's not done in an attempt to compete with current ad agencies. Here's an example of a tool where brands can easily input their desired image just in a matter of words to get their product fully across easily to consumers. The Chief Marketing Officer and Vice President of Analytics at Meta, Alex Schultz, also explained that Meta rather believes in the future of ad agencies, and advertisers, including the marketing teams at Meta, rely on these agencies to make decisions across channels and platforms. So it's not done in an attempt to completely remove ad agencies from the picture. Small businesses are also expected to benefit greatly from these use of the new AI tool, as they already rely on social media platforms to get their brand across, and this can allow them to focus more on what their consumer needs without worrying about ad tools to use.
Thank you, Riley.
No worries.
Now a look at the arts. This Friday, the National Gallery of Victoria is beginning a weekly event called NGV Fridays. This Friday marks the start of the weekly event. NGV Fridays will showcase French Impressionist art. Rex, tell us about the artwork and what kind of art will be showcased.
Yeah, so Melbourne's NGV has got over 100 pieces of artwork coming from Boston's Museum of Fine Arts. The 19th century collection was the 19th art movement. The Friday night exhibition will feature over 100 pieces of art. The exhibition is set to show every Friday for the next 4 months. French Impressionism is characterized by the impression of light and color. It's known for its visible brushstrokes, bright colors, and emphasis of the depiction of natural light. The exhibition is set to showcase 10 unique selections to show the spirit and energy of artists at the time.
Sounds very exciting, Rex. Yeah, what artists can we expect to see there, and how is this going to be different from normal NGV Fridays?
Yeah, so some of the artists there include Monet, Renoir, Degas, Cassatt, Van Gogh, Manet, and more. There's going to be live music there to complement the art. So different artists every week to set an atmosphere with emphasis on improvisation, jazz, soul, new sound, and also reworks of traditional sound.
Next in art news, the annual St Kilda Film Festival is coming up this weekend. The event begins tomorrow and runs till the 15th of June, showcasing a wide variety of short films. So Rex, could you tell us a bit about what we can expect from the festival?
Yeah, so there's going to be over 150 films playing at the Short Film Festival, with a very diverse range of films and filmmakers expected to show their work. The festival supports up-and-coming filmmakers, small filmmakers who might have been under the radar and haven't had a proper chance to show off their work are getting that shot here. The Best Short Film Award for the festival comes with a $10,000 prize, and there's $50,000 up for grabs for upcoming directors and movie makers. The movie is going to be shown at the Palais Theatre, the Astor Theatre, the South Melbourne Market, and the St Kilda Town Hall.
So the festival has deep ties to Melbourne. It's been around for 44 years and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Do you want to look back in history a bit, tell us about some of the filmmakers who maybe started their career at this festival?
Yeah, so some big names have come from the St Kilda Film Festival, getting their career started there as an underdog. Some Australians who have is like Kriv Stenders, director of Red Dog. Other ones include Academy Award winner Adam Elliott for Memoir of a Snail, Jane Campion, Academy Award winner director, The Piano Power of the Dog, and Richard Lowenstein for Dogs in Space. The film festival is starting tomorrow on the 15th of June, and it's going to run for 10 days until the 15th.
Thanks, Rex. Now let's move on to pop culture. Actress Blake Lively has withdrawn 2 claims made about It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni. The feud began after she accused him of sexual harassment and a public smears campaign. Pop culture reporter Diana Lotesto joins us today. Diana, what claims were withdrawn by Lively?
So in December of 2024, Blake Lively accused her co-star Justin Baldoni of causing her emotional distress, pain and embarrassment. Following these accusations, Baldoni's lawyers asked Lively to release medical records that support her claims. Lively is now trying to drop the claims, and the court will now decide if these claims will be dropped or if Lively will have to present evidence.
As mentioned earlier, Baldoni and Lively were co-stars on the 2024 film It Ends With Us, an adaptation of Colleen Hoover's novel. Was the film the beginning of this feud?
So It Ends With Us was released in August of 2024. The actors were both co-stars in the film that covers issues of domestic abuse. Blake Lively plays main character Lily Bloom, who faces abuse as a child in her household. She also faces abuse in her future relationship with Lyle, who is also played by Justin Baldoni. These accusations were not released until December of 2024, in which Lively filed 10 claims to the California Civil Rights Department regarding Baldoni and working environments.
In other news, Netflix's Adolescence has swept the Gotham Television Awards show. This comes after the show won 3 out of the 4 awards it was nominated for, including Breakthrough Limited Series. Diana, who were the other nominees that Adolescence was up against?
So there were 4 other shows who were in the lineup and also nominated for this award. These include Dying for Sex, Get Millie Back, Penelope and Say Nothing. Adolescence obviously managed to come out on top and win the Gotham Television Award.
So Adolescence shines a light on some really difficult issues, such as, rising misogyny, particularly among young men. But how did the cast come together and produce this show with such, difficult pretenses?
So actor Owen Cooper played the role of 13-year-old Jamie Miller, who was accused and involved in the murder of a schoolgirl. Actor and producer Stephen Graham talks about the making of Adolescence. Let's take a look.
Each person has the opportunity to really invest and be a wonderfully valued member of what we were doing. So there was no hierarchy structure. It was the cast and the crew together, and we jumped on the train and we didn't stop or get off until we finished the tape.
Adolescence talks about the misogyny in school, cyberbullying and knife crime in the UK. Over the past decade, the number of teenagers killed in knife violence has spiked to 240%. The show's themes sparked controversy in the media, posing questions about what young teenagers should be exposed to on the internet.
Thank you for your time, Diana. Now for our final segment, let's take a look at today's political satire. I'm with reporter Taylor Gofton here to discuss a few of the cartoons featured recently in national and international news. First up, we have an illustration from The Guardian by Alla Barron. Taylor, what's going on in this image?
So this first image shows President Donald Trump in a taco shell surrounded by cash, which represents lettuce. And he's on a scale with the other side holding a gavel, which represents law and order and the trouble that's been in that industry since his administration took over at the beginning of this year. On the left-hand side is the TACO acronym, which stands for Trump Always Chickens Out, and it is a nickname that he's been dubbed since he's backed out of a lot of these international tariff threats that he's held. Despite his use of nicknames in the past, using Sleepy Joe and Crooked Hillary during campaigns, when reporters asked about being given one of himself, President Trump was not amused.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that.
Taco Trump has now become an international meme flooding social media, and it was originally created by Financial Times writer Robert Armstrong.
That was our first cartoon looking at President Trump. Our next illustration comes from Sydney Morning Herald discussing issues with Australians falling for crypto scams. Taylor, do you want to tell us a bit about this?
Yeah, so this one is by Arizina Villanueva and shows a mature-aged woman in the background of a Bitcoin ATM machine. And this follows the increase in elderly Australians being scammed by cryptocurrency ATM frauds. The Federal Police and Financial Crimes Agency, AUSTRAC, announced a $3 million loss in total just in this year alone through scams in these machines. The problem with them is that once money is put into them, it is almost impossible to track or trace, and that's why it is preferred by so many scammers out there.
To another image now from The Guardian on the developing story on Australian billionaires. What does this image show, Taylor?
Yeah, so this one was by Fiona Kasakis, and it depicts the Australian Billionaires Club with a banner inviting new members. It also has 4 people lounging in chairs celebrating a newspaper headline, which reads, number of billionaires doubles in 10 years. The guy holding it then says, they say inequality is a bad thing, but we wouldn't be here without it. This cartoon came after Oxfam Australia announced the number of billionaires had increased from 74 to 161 in just 10 years. And they also provided a list of our top 1%ers who make up a total of 166,000 times more than the average Australian. And this has just led to calls for further taxes on high income owners.
Thanks so much for joining us, Taylor. That was an excellent insight into some political satire from across the globe. That's all for today's roundup. We're heading to a short break right now. We'll be back with the latest in sports and weather. I'm Max Hecua.
And I'm Mia Coutinho. Stay with us, and thanks for watching Newsline on Channel 31.
Welcome back to Newsline. I'm Maya Bennett.
And I'm Dani Geary.
Harper Thompson is at regional Victoria's Warn Pond Station to ask locals about the impact of V-Line disruptions.
Thousands of people catch the V-Line train from Geelong every single day, but with cancellations, delays and overcrowding, how are commuters coping? I'm here at Warn Pond Station to ask people what they think.
I don't travel the V-Line much, but I think that it's very accessible, especially for regional towns. But improving maybe like the fees or the fares could be a big one.
The V-Line's definitely a couple of times had me running late. Overcrowding really only happens at peak times, which is when I'm usually coming home, not when I'm going up to Melbourne. I'd probably run more services, have less Mikey inspectors or make fares cheaper.
No, I think it's improved a lot in the last 6 months. It's with extra services and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, once we had a clinic to teach some PE kids at a primary school, and they just randomly decided to be like, nah, we're going to depart them from Marshall Station, not Warren. So we had to catch a bus there, and we were 20 minutes late. 20 minutes late. There's so many people. Sometimes I don't even get a seat. I have to stand up.
It's very full. I don't want to lie to you. It's very annoying, but you know what? She'll be right as long as the elderly have a seat, I guess.
Now to the world of sport with Ben Lawson.
Thanks, Dani and Maya. First in sport, well, a storm is brewing in the AFL as 3 senior umpires are considering legal action against 3 prominent sports analysts on Channel 7's coverage. The criticism of umpires Simon Meredith, Craig Fleer, Justin Power and Martin Roger by Kane Corns, Luke Hodge and Dale Thomas has ignited a heated debate. This controversy was sparked by the aftermath of Collingwood Magpies forward Lachie Schultz's concussion incident. Schultz returned to action last Friday night against the Hawks, only to suffer a moderate-grade hamstring tear, citing him for 5 to 6 weeks, which is unfortunate for him. To the cricket, well, the Royal Challengers Bengaluru have emerged victorious, clinching the IPL title in a thrilling match against the Punjab Kings, winning by 6 runs. The final saw Australian cricketers Josh Hazlewood and Josh Ingles face in a face-off, with Hazlewood ultimately taking the chocolates. This victory also marked a significant milestone for teammate and international cricketing rival Virat Kohli, who added an IPL trophy to his illustrious career after 18 long years. To the tennis, Carlos Alcaraz has delivered a masterful performance, defeating Tommy Paul in straight sets at the Roland Garros. In his post-game interview, Alcaraz perfectly described how the match went.
You know, every shot I'm 100%, no matter what, not thinking about anything else, just hitting forward. And yeah, today it was one of those matches that everything went in. So I just pleased with everything. Unbelievable.
Alcaraz advances to the semi-final, where he will face Lorenzo Musetti. The New York Knicks have fired their head coach Tom Thibodeau in a shock decision that was made by team president Leon Rose, with a feeling that is in the best interest to getting to the next level of winning a championship. Rose said in a statement, "Our organisation is singly focused on winning a championship for our fans. This pursuit led us to a difficult decision to inform Tom Thibodeau that we've decided to move in another direction. This comes after the best finals run in 25 years, which saw them ultimately eliminated by the Pacers in Game 6. And finally, in other AFL news, the annual Fight MND game is this Monday between the Magpies and Demons. Neil Danaher, the 2025 Australian of the Year, who is the face of the campaign, urges everyone to get involved and grab a beanie. Maya and Dani, have you thought about getting involved this year?
It's certainly a worthy cause, Ben. It's been wonderful to witness how many people get around it every year.
Yeah, definitely. I'd never turned down a beanie, but I have to say I'm not a massive AFL fan myself. What about you?
I'm a Tigers fan, but I actually stopped liking them when they were on their winning streak. There's just something about an underdog, so I think I'll have to change it to Carlton for now.
Now to a short break. On the other side is the weather.
To the weather now, where Matilda Lindsell has the forecast ahead. What are we expecting, Matilda?
It's been a chilly day in Melbourne with a top of 14 and a low of 7. Today will remain partly cloudy with a medium chance of showers hitting the northwest suburbs. Let's take a look at our Thursday forecast around the country. Brisbane will remain mostly sunny, 21 with a slight chance of afternoon showers. A top of 17 tomorrow in Sydney, mostly sunny skies and a slight chance of showers along the coast. Canberra are off to a cold start with areas of morning frost at -3 degrees, but from about midday the sky will clear for a sunny afternoon and a top of 13. Down in Hobart, partly cloudy, a 20% chance of showers hitting just 13 degrees. Adelaide remains cloudy tomorrow at a top of 17 degrees with a medium chance of late afternoon and evening showers. And up to 4 millimetres of morning rainfall and a top of 20 is expected in Perth, while in Darwin we'll see some sun and a maximum of 31 degrees. Melbourne's winter weather is in full swing. Stay cosy and take care. And looking ahead at our 7-day forecast, cool temperatures will continue throughout the remainder of the week. Tomorrow will be partly cloudy with a high of 14 and a low of 6. We'll be faced with a 20% chance of rain and northerly winds of up to 25 kilometres per hour. To Friday, 13 and cloudy with a high chance of afternoon showers, a low of 7 and light northerly winds up to 40 kilometres per hour during the evening. Saturday will reach 15, it will be partly cloudy with a high chance of late showers and northwestern winds up to 35 kilometres per hour. Cloudy conditions and 8 millimetres of morning rain are expected, hitting 14 degrees, and up to 9 millimetres of rain expected for Monday, reaching 13 degrees. Tuesday will hit a minimum of 7 degrees and a maximum of 13. Back to Dani and Maya in the studio.
Thank you, Matilda. I do have to say I definitely shivered my way through this morning. It is definitely getting colder outside, which is surprising considering the false start to autumn we had. We're now smack bang in the middle of winter. Really feeling it. What do you do to stay warm at home?
I have to say, we switched from gas heating to electric a little while ago, and that was a very good move for the planet. However, it wasn't such a good move for how cold it is in the house.
I understand.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Well, I will say I'm partial to a little bit of a hot blanket, and I'm going to be making sure I definitely rug up with one of those tonight.
That's a great move. You know what I like? I like to make myself a little hot chocolate in the evening sometimes.
A little bit before bed, a hot chockey or a little bit of a hot tea?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
yeah,
no.
I'll be gripping that cup, that's for sure.
Yeah, sometimes instead of dinner it's a bit of a hot chockey situation instead with weather like this.
Yeah, no, certainly. I can't turn it down. Yeah, it's really all of my housemates and I just layers upon layers and
it's getting like that, isn't it?
It
with
is
the,
getting
with
like
the colder
that.
months
Yeah.
as we get into it. We said before it is now the beginning of alpine season, so
Correct.
we are going to be hitting the colder temps.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully nothing below 0.
No, although I wouldn't get our hopes up.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's true. We'll have to see what the rest of winter brings us, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well,
that's the show for today. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsline. I'm Dani Guri.
And I'm Maya Bennett. Thank you and have a good night, Melbourne.